guys! Today I'm going to review a Doctor Who story, and this one's called The Ark in Space.
It's been thoroughly digested, I'm afraid.
Don't make jokes like that, Doctor.
When I say I'm afraid, Sarah, I'm not making jokes.
Doctor Who The Ark in Space was broadcast in 1975. It's the second story of season 12 and is a four-parter. It's also the second story to feature Tom Baker as the Doctor. It was directed by Rodney Bennett, written by Robert Holmes and produced by Philip Hinchcliffe. And this was Hinchcliffe's first story as producer on the show. And he's also regarded as possibly the best producer the show has ever had. The music was by Dudley Simpson, and the story features a creature called the Wirrn, which was the popular one-off monster. The space station setting in this story was also used in the story The Revenge of the Cybermen later in the season. And the Ark in Space ending leads directly into the next story, The Sontaran Experiment, which is a two-parter. Philip Hinchcliffe believed that in order to expand the core audience of Doctor Who, it needed to appeal to adults. And Ark in Space demonstrates this with its use of horror, particularly the transformation of Noah into an alien creature. A scene in which a half-transformed Noah begs Vira to kill himself was deemed too scary for children and had to be cut. In the book, The Television Companion, David Howe and Stephen James Walker wrote that the story contained some of the most horrific material to have featured in the series up to that point. The use of body horror in this story would continue in later stories. The first 3 seasons of Tom Baker would feature a lot of stories that involved body horror. The titles of Part 1 were tinted green as an experiment. Part 2 got a massive audience. 13.6 million viewers watched it, and this is one of the highest viewing figures the show has had. Lots of critics say the plot of this story is a lot like Alien from 1979, and that it's a massive change from the Pertwee era. The story also has religious aspects. The character called Noah, the Ark that features in the Book of Genesis. Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat have said that this is their favourite story of the classic show. And Ian Marter, who plays Harry Sullivan, wrote the novelisation in 1977. This was the first of 8 books that he would write. The Ark in Space stars Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor, Elisabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, Ian Marter as Harry Sullivan, Kenton Moore as Noah, and Wendy Williams as Vira. So the plot of this one, it's very similar to the film Alien. So these aliens take over this space station in the future, and the humans are hibernating in these containers. And the aliens that are called the Wirrn, they're using the humans to harvest. And there's a terrific point of view shot, the very first scene of the story, where you see the door opening on one of the humans hibernating, and the alien uses that human as a host. So this is the very first Philip Hinchcliffe story that he did, and he's a terrific producer. He's my favourite. He did the first 3 Tom Baker years, and there's some terrific stories he produced. Stuff like Genesis of the Daleks, Terror of the Zygons, The Deadly Assassin, Pyramids of Mars, Robots of Death, The Talons of Wen Chian. Some terrific stuff he's done. And when you compare this story to the previous story, Robot, Tom Baker's first story that was produced by Barry Letts before Philip Hinchcliffe took over, there's a massive difference between the style of them 2 stories. Robot's like a cosy, earthbound story featuring Unit with not much horror, but this story that follows it, it's almost like a horror story. So it's raised the level of Doctor Who to a more adult level than we'd seen previously. And the concept of this story is quite horrific, that aliens are using these humans as hosts that are hibernating. It's interesting, the very first episode of this 4-parter, you just see the 3 regulars exploring the space station, and it's actually quite an eerie episode. There's a lot of silence. They're exploring this big, massive set that the BBC made for this story. It's one of the best studio sets I've seen. There's an eerie moment where Sarah gets split up from the other two, sort of like hypnotised, lying on this bed. And you hear this eerie voice talking to her.
In a few minutes, you will pass beyond life.
Hey, Phil, you nearly say up bloody Sarah's skirt when she's on that bed. I almost saw the bloody promised land. There is one fault, though, with the set. You see some of the studio lighting in the top right corner. And Tom Baker's much better in this story than the first one. He was just kind of finding his feet in the first story he did, Robot. But in this one, he's much more on form. He's still not 100% at his best. That's not until the story Genesis of the Daleks. Then from then on, he's like perfect in the role. However, he is good in this one. He gives an iconic speech about humanity.
There they are, out among the stars, waiting to begin a new life, ready to outsit eternity.
Harry Sullivan's quite funny as well. He works good with Tom Baker. Tom Baker gives him some peculiar looks, so he's a bit of an idiot.
Hardly helps us, does it? We're organic.
Not down here, we're not, Harry.
Oh, yes. Good piece of logical deduction, Doctor.
Thank you.
So he's an underrated companion, Harry. I quite like him. They work well together in this season, all three of them. And Elisabeth Sladen as Sarah. This is one of the best stories, actually. She's really good in this one. There's a terrific scene where she has to crawl through this air vent and she gets stuck. The doctor at the other end's calling her. But it's a ploy to make her struggle forward and get out the ventilation shaft. I thought that was really funny. Wendy Williams is good as Vira. Her and Noah are bonding partners. So Vira and Noah are bonding partners? What the hell does that mean, Phil? Does it mean they're friends with benefits? You know, fuck buddies. Bones, man, stop swearing. And I remember this story as a kid. I especially remember the end of episode 3, where you see Noah's face inside the Wirrn. Speaking of the Wirrn, they're a good design. You don't see much of them though, which is surprising. The story also has some great costumes, outfits of the humans on the space station that look really good. However, the story's not without its faults. There are some dodgy effects, especially the bubble wrap on Noah's arm. And it does kind of draw me out of the story because it's so bad. And not just that, but there's a lot of screen time as well, the bubble wrap. And usually effects don't really bother us. They're usually only on a few seconds. But with this effect, there's a lot of screen time. It's on Noah's arm and it's getting further up his body. Until it's bubble wrap. There's a great extra on the Blu-ray box set behind the sofa where some of the regulars are watching the story. And Philip Hinchcliffe said that the bubble wrap at the time, people were unfamiliar with bubble wrap. These days, you take it for granted, you see it everywhere. When you get an Amazon parcel, there's always usually bubble wrap in. But in 1975, it was a rare thing to say, so he thought he could get away with the effect. Hey, fucking hell, having his bloody arm wrapped up in bloody bubble wrap. Yeah, Bones, it's an awful effect. Hey, Phil, does he work for fucking Amazon? But for me, it spoils the story a bit. I wish that he used a different effect. If they'd used a claw or something, this story could have been an absolute classic if that effect was changed. And Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat say that this is their favourite story of the classic show. Just goes to show how well regarded this story is. And the viewers liked it as well. Episode 2 got over 13 million viewers. And that was word of mouth. After the first episode, the general public were going on about Tom Baker, saying he's brilliant. And that's why loads tuned into episode 2 of this story. And the concept of this story is very much like the film Alien. It's kind of like Doctor Who does Alien. So season 12's one of my favourite seasons. Also season 13 and 14, the 3 done by Philip Hinchcliffe. So I thought this was classic stuff. If it wasn't for the dodgy effects, I'd give it top marks. But unfortunately, because of the bubble wrap effect, and it is on a long time, so it's not just a few seconds, I've got to knock the mark down. So out of 10 I'll give it 9. 9 out of 10. What do you think about it, Holmes? Do you like it? I give it top marks, Phil. Pity about the bloody daft bubble wrap on his arm. Looks soft as bloody shit, that. So there's some good news that's just came up. The restarting the animations, I think, according to the Mirror. I don't know if that's genuine or not. It hasn't been confirmed yet. But supposedly they're going to start animating The Smugglers, a William Hartnell story, and The Underwater Menace, a Patrick Troughton story. So that'll be terrific news if they start the animations again. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe and share. See you everyone. Bye. Bye.